Okay, welcome out to another episode of Rev Up in Real Estate, and today we have the amazing guest, Aren Bybee. So welcome. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It seems like we only interview Arens, but that's like how it works. So we've had Aren Mailer on here, we've had myself on here, and now we have you. So
yeah, that's right. It's a good name,
It's a good name. It's a good name. All different spellings.
Yeah,
but a good name.
None of the younger people are named Aren anymore, so it's out of style now.
Yeah, it's like they're just not cool enough.
Just the old guys.
Just people. I guess. Some guys and some women too. So perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll play a little game of Jenga. If you up for this, you're a pretty competitive guy.
Yeah, I am. I've never played Jenga before, so when it goes down on the first one,
well, that'd be really.
My kids are going to give me some flack. I know it.
That's all good. So let's start this off. You go ahead and you can make the first move if you want. And
you go first.
Should we start?
Yeah.
Let's see here. We'll start with one of these little.
That way, at least it'll go to the second one.
There we go. All right. So here we go. Then the game begins. Here we go. Yeah. You go. I'll let you make a move, and then I'll ask you some different questions. So real estate. You've been doing this for a while now. You have kind of a diverse background getting into real estate. Maybe talk a little bit about what got you going in real estate, how that all began, starting out into the real estate industry.
Yeah, you bet. So, going back in time, I have an interesting backstory in that I grew up in a blue collar family. We didn't have a lot of money. I grew up on my parents owned a horse ranch, and I learned how to work being on a ranch.
Where was this?
On hay in Spanish Fork. Yeah, I grew up in Spanish Fork right here locally. And so I was a wild country boy. But at a young age, I saw my dad going to work every day. He worked at the post office. And my parents always just were struggling with money. And I saw my dad going to work every day and then not really have anything to show from that, right? And at a young age, I thought, I'm going to do something different. Probably the best thing about my upbringing is I learned to work really hard. So that's kind of my motto, no one will outwork me. So I tried to outwork everybody else. Even going back to when I was 12 hauling hay, figured out I could haul hay for longer and faster than any other of the kids. And I took a lot of pride in that. But over time, I decided at a young age that I was going to start investing in real estate. So, I wanted to invest in general, actually. So, I didn't know it was going to be real estate at the time. But I really was like, I want to do something different that I don't spend my whole life trading hours for dollars and have nothing to show for it. So I was working at a gas station full-time at age 16 while I was obviously going to high school, and started saving money, and I started my first mutual fund when I was 18. The thing is, though, is over time I realized that you're not going to get wealthy investing in mutual funds very quickly. Didn't take long to figure that out. And so what I did was I had an actual high school teacher. Funny enough, it was my woodshop teacher of all people. He said if I could go back, I'd buy a duplex, I'd live in half, and I'd rent out the other half. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. So I started saving money, and when I was 21, I had just barely enough money saved up that I could put 10% down on my first duplex. And I went out and started to find a property. But I'd start talking to agents and thinking that your average agent kind of knew what the best, what investing in real estate was and looked like. Yeah. And come to find out, none of them really knew a lot about investing. And I didn't feel like they even knew the market very well. And that was interesting to me because I kind of thought if you were a real estate agent, you kind of knew about all that stuff, right? Yeah. So I made every mistake because I just went out and bought a duplex. Really couldn't find anyone that could help me learn or teach me. I tried. I just couldn't find anyone. So I bought that duplex, and over time I bought another one and then another one. And eventually, as I became a real estate agent, I started out just specializing mainly in investment property that I could help other people invest.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was a pretty cool experience because I thought I'm going to be that person that I really had trouble finding.
Yeah. And you've built up a pretty impressive portfolio over the years. Like you started off with that first duplex, but then you've added more properties over the years. And have you stayed in that same like multifamily angle, or do you own all different types of properties? You picked a hard one, huh? You picked a tough one to start out.
What was coming in?
It's getting close.
This game may not like spirit.
This could be a fast one, huh? I like how committed you are to it, though.
I could backtrack on that one.
You got like other ones coming out already. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna fix this. I know you're free.
I don't even think the Jenga. Like, yeah, I think you're fine. There you go.
I'm gonna pick a better one on the next one.
That's probably good. Okay, so you've built up this portfolio over time, and you've got several different assets under, and then have you bought and sold the properties over the time, or have you just kind of acquired stuff, or what does that look like for you?
So I do long-term investing, and that's what I've helped my clients do over the years. And the beauty of that is, I feel like in today's society, and so us in real estate, I'll say this, that it's just amazing. First off, we live in the United States, where we just don't have, most people don't have the opportunities that we have. I'll just give you a kind of a little interesting story. So when I was over in Europe last year, and I was waiting in line in Vienna, Austria, in this coffee shop, and it was this like hundreds of year old cool coffee shop, and there's a big line to get in. Because everybody wants to go in this cool place. And I'm waiting in line. It's like 20 minutes long, and it's raining, and I'm like trying to figure out if it's worth in this line. And there was this gentleman behind me, and I said, "Hey, is this worth waiting for?" And he says, "I have no idea. I'm from the Netherlands or somewhere. I think it was the Netherlands." And but I just heard it's awesome, so I'm waiting in line like you. And I got to talking to him, and he said, he obviously figured out it was from the United States. And he said, "Yeah, it's so interesting. I really want to go to the United States." He said, "Living here in the Netherlands, or I think it was the Netherlands, like I said. But he said, living over here, I have a job. I really can't get fired from my job. I would have to do something really bad for them to be able to fire me. Says I get 6 weeks vacation every year. It's great." But he said, "I listen to podcasts of the United States, and people there can invest and in real estate, for example." And he mentioned that specifically. And he said, "Over there, you guys can go from poor to rich, and you can change classes, where here we really don't have that opportunity." And he's like, so it's super interesting. I love listening to those podcasts and think, man, maybe I want to go over there and make something more of myself than I am here. And I thought that was so interesting, because that was kind of my story. But really, I just guess I take it for granted that we can do that here, that we have the opportunity to go work hard and invest and change our scenario. And, I own a $6 million portfolio. My properties make about $500,000 a year, and I put in about 2 hours of my time per month. And the cool thing is that I've helped a lot of clients become multimillionaires that I started helping 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, if you help somebody find success, really go in and don't worry about what you're going to make, but focus on doing them a great job and helping them. Truly go out and say, "I'm going to teach you how this works. I'm going to help you find the right property, get a great deal, and I'm going to help you find that success." And as they change their life, number one, it's a great feeling that you help them accomplish that. And number two, they'll be loyal to you forever. They really appreciate what you did for them. You didn't just sell them a house. You did something more than that to them. And they will refer you like crazy. They will come back and buy more properties down the road. It's just great.
That's really awesome.
Kind of one other interesting, funny story about Europe, though. I was talking to another guy there, and I always think it's funny. I love the whole accent idea.
The idea of accents?
Yeah. So
people have them?
Yeah. So like, there's an agent here locally that has an English accent. You probably know who he is. Mm-hmm. And he gets, anytime somebody calls him, he gets the deal, because people love his English accent when he answers the phone.
Yeah.
It's kind of a funny story. But this guy, we were in Munich, and this guy says, told me, he said, man, I wish I had your Tom Cruise accent. He said, I'd get all the girls if I had a Tom Cruise accent like you. And I said, wait a minute, you think I have a Tom Cruise accent? And I started to realize that to them, we all have a Tom Cruise accent. Kind of a funny, interesting. I always thought, man, they have the cool accent. We don't.
You could go over there and have your own Top Gun.
Yeah. They think we're the bomb with our accent. And I just thought it was funny.
That's pretty good.
Did you think you had a super cool accent?
I mean, I don't know if I have an accent. I mean, I grew up back east. So if I need to pull on like the East Coast accent, I can pull it off. I've got some various other accents over the years, but I don't know if I have Tom Cruise accent. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's a funny one, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty unique. Okay, so you got agents who are gonna be watching this, and they're gonna think, all right, I need to start building up my portfolio. I need to start to get some properties. I need to get something. And I guess it all starts with getting the first one.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice to somebody who maybe they haven't invested before, but they're like, all right, this is the year for me to invest. I want to buy a property. What would be some advice that you give to people that this is their first time stepping into that arena?
So here's a couple of things that I would tell people. I do basically everything with my business and what I've done in life. I've done the opposite of what most people do. And interesting enough, it's worked out for me. I've never made a cold call in my career. I never called anyone that didn't want to be called. Instead, I talk about what the possibilities, and if someone wants me to help them, I'll help them. And people love that you're giving them that. Well, a couple of things that I tell people, that we all focus, I think it's a problem in America. We all focus on making more money, all of us. Mm-hmm. That seems to be the main focus. So, but that's not always what it's about. Just a quick, interesting, I read an article in Money Magazine years ago. I think it was back actually in the 90s when I saw the article. But they took a plumber. He graduates high school. At age 20, he gets a job as a plumber, making decent money, $100,000 a year or whatever.
Yeah. And
he saves 10% of everything he makes and just invests it in a mutual fund. So he's putting, and he saves that all the way till age 60, and he's only earning 7% in a dumb mutual fund.
Got it.
Okay, not doing anything fancy or special. And then they take a doctor. He graduates high school. He goes to school for 10 years. He's now, so he doesn't even get out into the workforce till he's around 30 years old. And they immediately throw him into the high tax bracket. They don't average him for the 10 years he didn't earn anything. So he immediately starts paying more taxes. And then he's usually in debt. So it takes a few years just to kind of get back even.
In loans and all the medical school.
So of course he makes a lot more money than the plumber. And he starts saving 10% of what he makes and investing in the mutual fund at 7-8%. At age 60, guess who's wealthier? The plumber. But our society just says that the only way success is to go to school, earn more money, spend it all. And what I try to teach people is it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and invest. Yeah. And so in hearing how that applies to us in real estate, what better investment is there in real estate than real estate? Mm-hmm. Because with a mutual fund, you can earn 7 or 8%. That's not that great. Of course, you don't have to do anything. There's other types of investments, and everybody's always chasing that get-rich-quick scheme. I don't chase get-rich-quick schemes because they usually end badly. Same with diets, right? Every 5 years, there's a new diet, right? Everybody just wants to get skinny with from this, and it's got to be more of a consistent thing. If you just kind of, go for a walk once in a while and try to watch what you eat long term, you can sustain that rather than taking these roller coaster rides. And it's the same thing with investing, in my opinion. If you just consistently save money and invest. So in the beginning, I tried to buy 1 property a year. And most of my clients, that's what I recommend. I don't tell them, hey, let's go out and buy 5 the first month. Let's start with 1. Let's get that going for you. Let's get you having success. And then we'll buy another one once you're ready. And over time, that way you're not overloading that person and you get that 1 property where it's just running. They're not having to do a lot. But real estate is just a great asset, especially residential, because even in a down economy during the 2008 crash, I didn't have a single investor lose a property. They all rented. In fact, there was tons of people that lost their big houses that need to come rent for me or my clients. And so that was great. Of course, I don't just do investment property, but the reason I talk about that a lot is that if you take your average person out there, this is just my feeling. You take your average person out there, everybody's trying to be the same. So think about it this way. Everybody has a great doctor, a general practitioner, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. And that they'll tell you, oh yeah, my doctor's great, right? And there's a ton of them. But there is I remember as a kid, there was a brain surgeon and then there was a dermatologist both that you could not get into. For example, a dermatologist, if you didn't know somebody there, you could not get an appointment.
Yeah.
And with the doctor, with the brain surgeon, there's a brain surgeon here locally. He's over a year out to get an appointment. So I hope you don't need brain surgery prior to it because you're not even going to get in for a year. Well, as a kid, I saw that and I thought, us as real estate agents, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to be the same. And I think, why do I want to be the brain surgeon? I want to be the guy that people are lined up to use me. So what do I have to do to be that? Well, I have to be better than everyone else. I've got to offer something that everybody else doesn't offer in order for people to be lined up to want to use me. So that was my whole goal. And so everything that I do in real estate, I try to do it better than someone else. And if I can't, I don't even attempt. So for example, if you said, hey, Aaron, I want to do a commercial property, I'd tell you, I don't know anything about commercial. I'm not the guy for you.
Yeah.
Because I don't. And I'm not going to go out there and not do a great job.
Got it.
Did I answer your question?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think what's interesting is like you have people that are trying to, in a marketplace where people are trying to gain market share, right? Like they're trying to find ways of getting new clients and they're trying to find ways of increasing their business. And so a lot of times people think that the way to do that is being able to do everything for everyone, right? Like almost having like a cheesecake factory like menu. Have you ever been to a Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah, they've got it all.
Like it's like crazy because if you want to have Mexican food, if you want to have Chinese food, if you want whatever you want to have, like that menu has everything. And I think a lot of times real estate agents become like this cheesecake menu of services for everyone. But what you're talking about is you're very specialized. Like you have and the fact that you offer what you offer, but at a high level to become like this, to create more demand for your people, and then people want to connect with you. And what would you say are like some of the one or two things that are like the unique things that you do that's like different than anybody else? If you were to, if somebody from the outside were to follow you around for a day or they're shadow you for a week, what would they come back and be like, man, that's something I didn't imagine seeing. Right. Anything that would stand out from that?
So for example, I feel like most real estate agents don't know the market well. And I feel like if your plan is to just pull up on the MLS and see what homes are available, I mean, let's be real, a buyer could go to Zillow or UtahRealEstate.com and see that themselves. Mm-hmm. So a lot of agents, in my opinion, are just a door opener, meaning the buyer can say, I want to see these 3 houses, and they open the door. And to me, there's nothing special in that. Now, it works for some agents. There's a lot of agents out there, and I'm not the popularity guy. I'm not the guy that's I see agents that are kissing babies and more of a politician type. So everybody just loves them. Yeah, and that's why they use them.
So you don't care about babies. You don't care about. I'm just kidding.
I do. I'm just not that personality. I was never the popular kid in school.
Got it.
Right. Fair. In fact, I was the rebel in school. I got in a lot of trouble. And so I was a handful. Kind of an interesting story with that, by the way. It's just kind of a funny story. Is that I was always the kid that was pushing the boundaries. Now I feel like it helps me today because I'm always looking for a better way or a different way, and I'm always thinking too much. I think too much actually. Sometimes gets me in trouble mentally. But when I was a kid, I realized that if you got your name on the board, that nothing would happen. And if you got, back in my day, we had a chalkboard, right? And you'd get checks as you were talking or doing something you shouldn't. Well, it wasn't till I think 3 checks you had to stay 5 minutes after class, And at 4 checks, you had to go to the principal's office. So I realized that nothing happens bad to you until you get 4 checks. So every day I got my name on the board with 3 checks. Well, that ended badly for me one day because my 5th grade teacher, he had it with me. I only had 2 checks on the board. But I was talking, and it kind of an interesting thing. I still remember that I was talking to the girl next to me one day, and she got her name on the board, and she was crying. And I'm like, and she's over there saying, my mom's going to kill me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nothing happens till 4 checks. I get 3 checks every day. And but this teacher, finally, I only had 2 checks this day, but he just had it with me, always causing trouble. And he literally walked over and picked me up. I had one of those one-piece desks where the desk and the seat are all one. He picked me up, I was clear up in the air, hauled me all the way across the class and set me in the corner, facing the wall.
Oh, wow.
So I'm back there like, I pushed that a little far. But the moral of that story is that I'm always realizing, looking for something different that I can do. You know, I want to know the market better than everyone else. I'm going to study. If I'm going to be a real estate agent, I'm going to study everything I can about investing. And one thing that surprises me, if we have the best in real estate, we have the opportunity to invest in real estate. And that's what we do as agents. And you think the majority of agents aren't invested in real estate. And that's just a shame, because they could change their life. And if they became good at investing, changing their own life, they could help other people do the same.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, right? The reason I had credibility is when I became a real estate agent 22 years ago, I had four investment properties, right? And I had figured it out. I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, but I learned, and I made a bunch of mistakes, what not to do, and I helped my clients not make those same mistakes.
Yeah. It's amazing the credibility that changes when you start to own rental properties. Because I remember after I bought my first property, like the conversations I had were totally different, because now all of a sudden people looked at me as someone who actually knew what they were doing, because I was actually doing it. And it drew people to me who had more questions about investing because I was going down that path. And we in our industry, we have so many benefits. My CPA called, we were talking a year ago, and he said, man, you guys in real estate, I don't know what you did in the lobby, like on the political lobbying, but you guys have the best tax breaks. You guys have the best opportunities to take advantage of different things. And for people who aren't taking advantage of that, they're just missing the boat. There's so many different things that we in the industry have access to. And then at the same time, people who start to build up an investment portfolio, it's a game changer.
Yeah. So you mentioned that. Just my personal portfolio, I said I spend 2 hours a month on all 15 of my units. Uh-huh. And I make about $500,000 a year between the 4 sources of income, and that's after taxes. I mean, it's just great. Now, when I say $500,000 a year, about half of that is in equity growth, appreciation. But it's a game changer, because when you have let's say you have $20,000 a month income coming in, and that doesn't even count for the appreciation, you can do whatever you want. And it just, instead of being like all your neighbors, like we all see people all the time, and they got a big house and whatever, and they're successful people. But unfortunately, one thing that I've found is most people, whether you make $400,000 a year or $40,000 a year, they're all equally broke. They're all equally have no money in the bank. This guy earns $400,000 a year, and he just has a ton of payments. He's got a big house, and he's got all those nice assets, but he's just as stressed and could go bankrupt next month as a guy making $40,000 a year who also doesn't have any money in the bank.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Growing up, so I lived in Chicago until 6th grade, but then we moved out to New Jersey. But like watching my grandpa, he was a electrical contractor in the Chicago area. And I remember going and shadowing him on different jobs. And he would go home for lunch, which I thought was just amazing. And I just thought he was the richest guy in the world, because I'd watch the sandwiches that he'd make at lunch, and he would take a big block of cheese and he'd cut off these huge sections of cheese and put them on a sandwich. Like, dude, he's not even living by like the slices. Like, he's like making his own cheese, like giant, huge cheese slices. And I thought, that's amazing. But what was interesting with my grandpa, he had this electrical contracting business, but on the side, he had bought this multifamily property that was right across the street from Northwestern football stadium. And I remember growing up, like we would go over and paint, and we would spend weekends working with them and in between tenants. But that building that he worked on over all these years, like at some point when he did retire and he ended up moving out to New Jersey with my family, they sold that building, but that like funded his entire world, like that building. There were a lot of other contractors around these job sites with him. There were a lot of other people he worked with, but nobody else had bought a property at that same time. And he just built this thing up, and it changed the whole cycle of his future because of that one property. And that was like, for me, I look back on that like, man, that was a pretty amazing example for me to see firsthand of someone who, with one property, could transform their later years in life. And
it's not even just their later years. I want you to think about something. When you change your financial situation, you also change your kids' in your future generation situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a college dropout. Now, why? Well, I'm in college. I'm paying for college myself. I'm trying to work full time. I worked at a convenience store at the time, and I'm trying to pay for college. I'm trying to take classes at night. And man, because I wasn't willing to go into debt. I wasn't going to do that. And so it was taking forever. And I finally decided, you know what? And this is where, again, I took a path most people don't take. And so I'm not saying that the other path is wrong. I'm just saying that it wasn't right for me. I decided I'm not going to pay any more for these classes that I don't care about. I'm going to forget the degree. And I'm going to take just the classes I think will help me with whatever I do. And I'm going to try to do my own thing, whatever that is, that I don't need a degree for, and I'm going to hope this pans out.
Mm-hmm.
So I took accounting and finance and those classes that I thought were business classes, and I left out the stuff that I thought was just something that I wasn't going to help me. And so I dropped out of college, but I got a lot of great education from the classes that helped me. And I even done stuff like Excel classes and Word classes, right? All those were great. But now my kids don't have to worry about not having the money to graduate from college if they'd like to, right? And so it just really changes those future generations and allows your kids and their kids to go on a different path based on the decision you might have made or your dad made when they bought that one multi-unit. They didn't think it would affect generations from now, but it does.
Oh, for sure. It's a pretty powerful example. Okay, so your real estate business has grown dramatically. I mean, you've started out as an agent. You've kind of built up your portfolio with your clients, but you've built up a real estate team as well. Like you've got a lot of different people who are working with you as you've built up this new empire that you're building up with your real estate business. So what are some of the different things that you teach to agents as they're getting into the business, or different things that you try to help them understand to help them move their businesses forward?
So it has been, like I mentioned, probably I love selling somebody's house. That's great. But even more than that, I love as an agent being able to help someone invest and change their future, right? And just a quick story, I think this is a cool one. A really good friend of mine, I used to ride motorcycles back in the day, but he was actually my very first, we ride motorcycles, and I was living in one of my duplexes, and I was first getting my license. And he said one day when we were out riding, he said, "Hey, I want to invest in real estate too." And I said, "Well, lucky for you, I'm going to be a realtor in a month. You could be my first client." And so I helped him buy a property, and I helped him buy another one and another one. And he owns, I don't know, maybe 13 or 14 units now. He's a multimillionaire. I don't want to mention names or anything.
Yeah.
But just he's a great guy. And what's funny is he was making $12 an hour when I helped him buy that first property.
Wow.
And funny enough, he even married one of his tenants. So yeah, a little school teacher was renting from him. He married her. So he gives me credit for helping him financially. And he says, "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have my wife." So it's kind of a joke though, but he's just a great guy. But I'm also able to help agents accomplish the same thing. And so those agents, they may not have a huge real estate portfolio like I do.
Yeah.
And they don't have the experience that I do. but they can piggyback on me. And so I've taught them how to find those good deals, and most of them have started investing. I think I'm on my team of buyer's agents. I've got, I think 5 or 6 of them at least have bought at least their first investment property.
That's super cool.
But I just hound them all the time. You guys need to be investing, right? Like, it's going to help your business. But even before that, though, they can piggyback on me, and they can say, hey, my team leader, this is what he's done, and he's trained me to do exactly this. And so as new agents, or any agent out there, I think you need to be investing yourself. You need to be learning everything you can about the market. A little bit of irony maybe in some of the things I say, because on one hand, I say I want to earn income, but not that I walk away income I don't have to go to work for, like with the investments.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my real estate business, I'm going to outwork everybody else. It's the opposite is true. I don't worry about how much I'm going to make. I worry about educating myself. And so rather than worry about calling people that maybe don't want to be called, that's just my philosophy, I'm going to make myself an expert. So that if I run into you, let's say that you and I, we've got kids playing at a basketball game or a soccer game or football, whatever it is, and we're chatting. People know I'm a real estate agent. What do they ask? I mean, you know this.
They want to know how the market.
Yeah, they want to know how the market is. Well, instead of just telling them how the market is, give them more information than that. You're an expert. Start talking about what's happening in the investment world, what's happening with rents and rate of returns, and what new construction's doing on homes. And what happens is they realize that you aren't just your typical real estate agent, and they actually want to work with you. So I don't ever ask anyone if they want me to help them. I let them ask me if I'm willing to help them. Right? It's the reverse. I'm the brain surgeon rather than the general practitioner.
Yeah, it's more it's more compelling than convincing, right?
Yeah.
Because you're drawing people in versus trying to chase after people and convince them to work with you, which I think that's a powerful way to go. When you're focused on the bringing value to the people and whoever you're having conversations with, that's a powerful way to go to build a significant business that continues to move forward.
Well, and I go back to when I was 21 and trying to buy my first investment property. I couldn't find anyone. I talked to multiple agents, trying to find someone that was an expert at what they do. And I just honestly couldn't find it. And those that were, they'd, go, they'd take me to one place. I didn't even like the place, and they start pressuring me to make an offer on it. And I didn't even want to make an offer on it.
Did I just lose?
Apparently so, but I cheated a little bit there. That first one or second one, I fixed.
Like you reinforced that. That was like coming out.
I think you threw it for me because I was doing so well.
I did throw it because I don't like to lose. Whatever. That's good. The whole backstory of your like growing up and having the checks next to your name, like I can totally resonate with that because I got in so much trouble with teachers. In fact, in my middle school, we had a teacher who retired halfway through the school year because we were such a terrible class. So we would pass out assignments before class of different animals. Like one of us would pick a theme, and then we would pass out the animal assignment. So it might be maybe it was farm, or maybe it was jungle, or maybe it was African safari was the theme. And then we pass out all the assignments, and whatever assignment you had for the animal, whenever she turned to the board, you had to make those animal noises. And so,
really?
That poor teacher, she was on her way out, but then she just halfway through the year, she's like, I'm done. She was just done with our class, which I look back on that, and that was probably not one of my highlights, but it was a pretty entertaining class. We had fun, but it was not, well, it's all good. But look at where we're at now. We're doing real estate, owning real estate investment properties, and pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that if you were to go back to the average person that I graduated with, they'd be surprised that I was able to find that success, because I was always such a rebel. I mean, I literally in high school, I in the middle of class rode my stupid bullet bike. Don't get a bullet bike; they're dangerous. I rode my bullet bike from basically through the school in the middle of class. Super loud. I was a troublemaker. And but a lot of people think that that they can't be successful, right? We all come from different backgrounds. I didn't own anything but cowboy boots. So when I first became a real estate agent, I literally didn't even own tennis shoes. All I had was cowboy boots. That was it.
You just showed up naked with cowboy boots, the naked cowboy, and you got clients. And that's one way to do it.
Yeah,
it's an interesting way to build your business.
Yeah, that's right.
But people were compelled to it, and they're drawn to it. So,
but a lot of people think, that's not something other people have it and I don't. That's not the case. It's if you outwork those other people and you think outside the box. So I would tell people that it's great, take the advice, but I think a lot of people give the same advice. When it really switched for me is when I first became an agent. My broker at the time took me to this class. Remember, it was up in Salt Lake, and it was like an all-day training. And they would, it was all about you only want to show them 2 houses, and then you want to close them. And then they literally made us sit down, and we were each behind a desk, and one person would pretend you're trying to close the other guy. And the other guy, whatever reason he said of why he didn't want to buy one of the houses, you try to counter that and talk him into it. And I was right there like, I'm not doing this. This isn't for me. This isn't my thing. I'm not doing this. So maybe I'm not going to be able to find success here, and I'm going to do it different. And so what I guess I'm saying is there isn't just one way to do it. There's not a right or wrong. There's a matter of finding out what works for you. But at the end of the day, whatever it is you do choose to do, outwork everyone else. Be more knowledgeable than everyone else. And that might mean that 3 a.m. you're reading a book on real estate. That's what I was doing about investing, so that I would know more than everyone else, so that I understood it better, so that I could teach and help others. But you can't just never dive into it and then expect to have all that knowledge. It takes doing additional work, but that then paid off for me. And 25 years later is still paying off for me.
I think that's awesome. I learned I went to a training many years ago where there's a gentleman who's local from here, and his name's Garrett Gunderson, but he taught the equation, mental capital plus relationship capital equals financial capital. And what I love what you're talking about is this idea of like really gaining more mental capital. And then you're clearly very relationship capital heavy. Like you do a lot of stuff to build connection with people. You're very involved with that. And so those two things, but you get certain people that they develop one of those, right? They're very relationship based. They don't have the mental capital part of it, right? They're just like they're really friendly. They're fun to hang out with. They don't have the mental capital to bring to up level that communication if they're working with clients. So we have other people super, super smart, but they're super awkward with people, and they can't connect with people. They can't help people through a process. And so, but I love that what you're talking about. And I think what the other piece that's really interesting for me is in our industry, you have, I don't know, if you look at how many people are in real estate agents, you've got this marketplace of thousands in our local market. But you look at the national scale, like there's like tons and tons of people. But you would look at it and say, typically it's like an 80-20 rule, like 20% make about 80% of the money in this business. I would say maybe it's more like 90-10.
Oh, for sure.
And what's interesting is how many people listen to the 90%. Like I see people who get into the industry or people who are trying to move their business forward, and they go to some Facebook group or they go to some like place, they're like, hey, what should I do? Or they'll poll the audience. And like, for me, that's like a person who wants to play professional sports. Let's say you want to play professional baseball and you stepped onto the field and you're like, well, I really want to play like at a high level. And then going to the stands and asking the audience, like, how do you play, like going to the fans and say, hey, what should I do out here? There's some dude on the 3rd row eating a hot dog on his 3rd beer. Like, I'll tell you what you should do. I'll tell you how to be a good baseball player. And some dude in the stands, like, well, why would you?
And he'll tell you too.
Oh, I'm sure he'll tell you. Yeah, exactly what he thinks you should do. And how many of us in real estate like listen to all these other people that have no clue on what they're talking about. Where you've had all the success, how many people over the last 20 years have come to you and asked you, hey, how should I move my business forward in real estate? And like, besides your clients, like how many real estate agents in our marketplace have ever asked you for help on how to do that?
So most of my buyer's agents were all people that came and asked me that question, and I ended up helping them. So there are some people that have done that, but I would say the majority don't.
Small piece.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I would definitely agree with you on that.
It's just interesting.
And then they just follow the platitudes, right? There's a lot of people that just give out platitudes, and the problem is it sounds great, but there's no meat to that. So, for example, a lot of people ask me. I personally did 90 transactions last year, not including any of my buyer's agents, and that's a lot of transactions. I'm actually at my absolute max. It's more than I even want to do, and people wonder how I can do that. Well, I typically am not taking a buyer out and showing them 50 homes. So I know the market well enough. Again, if you've done your homework and you know the market, and that buyer comes to me and tells me what they want, I kind of know where the best deal is. Now, usually I can't take them to just one.
You got to see a couple.
I got to take it, but I'll take them to 2 or 3. But I don't take them to just 2 or 3 random ones that I know that one's a great deal. And as I get there, I tell them why. If I were buying right now, this is the one I'd buy. And I'm going to show you 2 of these other ones that aren't as good a deal. And you're going to see why I'm telling you that this one's the best one.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
And at the end of the day, I went out in 2 hours. They bought a house. And I didn't ask them if they wanted to make an offer. I didn't, quote, close them. I just took them out, found them the best deal, said I'd buy this one, and here's why. Let me know what you want to do. We can keep looking as long as you want. And typically they're like, hey, I agree with you. That one is the best deal. I'm going to buy that one. Because if I had to show all those people 50 random homes, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, congrats on your victory. Impressive work. So, and who would have thought? I mean, going to school, you were the voted on least likely to succeed.
I think so. I think so.
Have you gone back to any reunions yet to be able to show them?
No, because I was such trouble. I never went to a single assembly. I sloughed them all. Like I was pretty wild. And so
one of these upcoming reunions, you have to show up with a white fur coat.
A white fur coat.
And maybe even hire 2 guys to like walk next to you with like earpieces in, and then they'll know that you've made it. So that'll be good.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe the next year. Okay, cool. Well, that's great. Thank you again for being on today's episode. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's been fun chatting with you. Been fun getting to know you better too.
Oh, thanks.